Today we're going to be making vegetable pot pies in the kitchen. It's a duel really between my favorite version
and my family favorite, so stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Debbie. Welcome to my kitchen, the home of Almost Vegan Cooking School. So we're ready to start prepping our vegetables for our pot pie. And the first two things that are going to go into our cooking pot are garlic and onions. Now I have already peeled garlic cloves right here, and I'm going to mince them and throw them in the pot with the onions. But you can also buy garlic that's already prepped that can save you a little bit of time, and keep in mind that about a half a teaspoon is equivalent to about 1 clove of garlic.
And we've already prepped our onion in terms of slicing it in half and peeling it. And I've done my cuts lengthwise here, and we're just going to do our final cuts.
And the goal is for all of our vegetables to fit onto a spoon. So think bite-sized pieces. So over medium heat in a dry pot, I'm going to add our diced onion, and our minced garlic, and a 1/4 cup of water. So I'm going to continue cooking the onions and garlic for about 10 minutes. And while this is on the cooktop, we're going to go back and prep the rest of our vegetables.
And next we're going to chop our potato. And with any round vegetable, we want to first cut it in half to give it a flat surface to work with. And a little tip when you're working with potatoes, sometimes the knife will get stuck in the potato. Good idea just to give it a quick rinse, and that'll keep it sliding easily. We're going to take these potatoes into a small dice, just like the carrots, again, so we can get all the veggies in one big spoonful.
Our next vegetable is green beans, and all I'm going to do is take off the tips and the toes. And again, our goal is bite-sized pieces for about 1.5 cups of green beans. Okay, I'm ready. Okay, our onions are nice and soft, and I'm ready to add the rest of the vegetables. So I've got 1.5 cups of frozen green peas, and this is our protein. Although there's protein in all these vegetables, but a lot of times we don't think of green peas as a legume. And I've also have 1.5 cups of frozen corn. You may want to rinse this first before you add it to your pot. And then I've got 2 russet potatoes, a couple of large carrots, and 1.5 cups of green beans. Now my pot's pretty full right now, and what I want to do is add my cooking water. Now with the cooking water, you want to make sure that you barely cover your vegetables. Now this is the critical point in making gravy, because if you add too much water, it's going to take a long time. Okay, so this is barely covered with water, and I'm going to turn this up to high, and then we'll start our gravy. All right, so this has been cooking with the lid for about 10 minutes. Our potatoes are fork tender, and we're ready for the gravy. So the gravy, if you have a jar, this is about 1/3 cup of flour, and I'm going to put in 1/2 cup of cold water and shake it vigorously. Okay, so we want a consistency about like that. And while this is boiling, I'm just going to slowly stir it in. And after a few minutes, we're going to have a beautiful gravy. And to this, I'm going to add a teaspoon of cracked pepper, a teaspoon of basil, a little bit of salt, anywhere from a half a teaspoon to 3/4 of a teaspoon. And then finally, I've got a 1/3 cup of soy sauce. Okay, so I'm gonna stir this well, and then I'm gonna turn off the heat, and we're going to start our biscuits. So we brought everything forward from the back off of the cooktop for our vegetable pot pie. Now this is not the traditional pastry crust, although that is a wonderful way to do it for a holiday. We're going to show you a couple of ideas for an everyday meal or even the weekend. So this is our Dueling cook-off. In this pan, we're going to be adding baking soda biscuits.
And over here, we're gonna be using mashed potatoes because when my girls were little, the only way I could get them to eat their vegetables was to serve them with mashed potatoes. So today, we're going to be serving our vegetable pot pie with mashed potatoes. And of course, these potatoes are plant-based. And if you'd like to know how to make these plant-based potatoes, take a look at our video on our twice-baked veggie potatoes. Now we're ready to top our pot pies, but before you do, make sure your oven is preheated to 400 degrees. For the mashed potato topping, we're going to add about 1 inch of mashed potatoes to the top, and make sure you leave some of those peaks. You don't want to smooth it out too much because those peaks are going to get nice and crispy and look very, very beautiful.
And while Courtney's doing that, I'm going to walk you through making baking powdered biscuits, not baking soda biscuits like I said earlier. So the first thing is our wet ingredients, and in this bowl I have a tablespoon of agave and 1/8 of a cup of grapeseed oil, but you could use canola oil to handle the heat. And then I've got 1.5 cups of cold plant milk right out of the refrigerator, and I'm just gonna whisk that up. And in this bowl, our dry bowl, I have a little bit of salt and 3 cups of flour. Could be all-purpose flour, half and half of whole wheat and white, and then 2 heaping tablespoons of baking powder. And then you just kind of want to mix this up. As long as you have clean hands, this is really the easiest way to get it all mixed well. And then I'm going to add the wet ingredients to the dry. And you stir, but try not to over stir. Just fold it into each other. And then we're gonna do big tablespoon dollops on top of our gravy. And you really wanna drop these right next to each other in your pan. Well, here's our Dueling cook-off. It's pretty obvious who won, don't you think?
I think so.
Anyway, let us know in your comments below if you like biscuits and gravy or
mashed potatoes and gravy.
with some vegetables. I hope you enjoyed this cooking class as much as we enjoyed bringing it to you. This cooking school came to be because there is so much good news to share about a plant-based diet. Become a part of our cooking school family other and to